The Willimantic Thread Company in Willimantic, Connecticut, opened its door for manufacturing cotton thread in 1854. By 1985, the company had relocated to North Carolina, followed by a later relocation to Mexico. The mill now acts as a museum to serve the Willimantic-Windham area on the history of its textile industry. At its peak, it employed about 3,500 workers, mostly immigrants from Ireland, French Canada, and Poland, although the population was actually comprised of people from more than 26 countries. The director of the museum related to the mill, Jamie Eves, staged a tea in honor of the diversity. A multitude of tables of different ethnicities were set up, and representatives from Canada, Sicily, Italy, England, and Russia shared with us their unique holiday customs and foods.
And with a name like York, I had to do Great Britain.
I'm not a Canadian myself. I am married to one, and I had 2 Canadian children.
My father's family came from a little town outside of Palermo, so I came from a peasant Sicilian family.
This is from Saskatchewan, these foods.
This is an Italian table. My maiden name was Sorecchia.
Most discussed Christmas traditions, but Hanukkah was also represented.
Both my family and my husband's family originally came from Russia, where they celebrated Hanukkah.
Most Canadians celebrate Christmas on Christmas Eve.
The little treat that I brought today is a recipe called Gozza di Natale,
On my table, I have some traditional English treats.
which is a rustic fig cookie. That was a recipe that my grandmother brought over from Sicily, and my mother transcribed it from oral tradition.
Hanukkah is a festival of lights, and it usually coincides fairly closely to Christmas. This year, very close.
When I grew up, our Christmas spread would be lasagna first.
And I brought my husband's grandmother's samovar, which is a Russian urn that would hold hot water.
The whole Italian thing with the bread.
These are scones. This is a wonderful recipe of orange cranberry scones.
The foods that I have right here in front of me come from a 1901 Victorian cookbook.
Then afterwards, we would bring out the turkey or the ham with the mashed potatoes and the peas and the cranberry.
Right in front of me is a plate of apple Jonathan.
The soupe aux pois, and we have la tourtière, which is a meat pie. It's extremely delicious.
So you could have raviolis, like I say, a lasagna.
Then over here it's called Manitoba Thresher's Johnny Cake.
These are blueberry tarts.
And then chocolat crème is a favorite, as well as sugar pie, which is incredibly sweet and kind of makes your teeth itch a little bit.
There is a fair amount of sugar in them and a good deal of sour cream that's stirred into the Johnny Cakes as well.
The traditional Hanukkah gift is Hanukkah gelt.
My grandfather used to make My grandfather actually made the fish soup. I never made it, but it's a very traditional thing.
And these are little chocolate coins, which I think are even better.
One of the things we've learned about Victorian recipes is they tend to be very low on sugar compared to what we eat today. That's not a surprise.
And these are shortbreads over here.
But we would have 2 different whole meals, and that was the way it was. It was fantastic.
So we actually have brought maple syrup and some blueberry syrup so that people can sweeten these if they would like to sample them.
At every holiday, we would have wine, and that was the only holiday the children were allowed to have wine.
It is also a venue for other historic presentations, which vary throughout the year. Currently featured is a special on Connecticut in the Civil War and its role on cotton. The Abbey Regina Loudis is the basis for the movie Come to the Stable with Loretta Young and Celeste Holm. The monastery, originally founded in France, was then relocated to an old brass factory in Bethlehem, Connecticut by Sorbonne-educated doctor and nun Mother Benedict Duss in the 1940s. On 400 acres, the monastery is a flourishing community of contemplative Benedictine nuns and is also home to a magnificent creche created in 1740 and believed to have been formally awarded to the King of Sardinia for his coronation and later donated by resident Loretta Howard to the abbey.
We believe that the creche was made by artisans in the Naples area, in the area of the Bay of Naples, to give to this King of Sardinia for his coronation. So it would have been several artisans, or many, who worked on it. And as you look at the figures, you see there are different styles of sculpting and of craftsmanship.
It is noteworthy that the magnificent creche of 64 pieces is housed in a barn formerly owned by Puritan clergyman Joseph Bellamy, particularly since the Puritans had once criminalized the celebration of Christmas, having seen it as too Catholic a holiday.
When we had to renovate and restore the creche, which I haven't spoken about, the conservators at the Metropolitan Museum took all the figurines down to the Met and worked on them. And when they brought them back and reintroduced us, they said, what we have done is not restoration, it's conservation. In other words, you're looking at original material. And if it was faded, maybe they turned it the other side out. But they didn't replace because it was too important to try to keep it intact.
Restored at great cost during the last 3 years, the creche is now visited by thousands of visitors who come to Bethlehem each year. The amazing Boar's Head and Yule Log Festival will continue to delight its 5,000-member audience when its 44th annual procession parades through the Asylum Hill Congregational Church this year. This year, the festival features a 16-foot angel puppet rising at the altar in all its majesty.
I had the pleasure of running into a local artist, Ann Coverly, who kind of likes puppets and things that stand up in the air, and so we began to dream together. So that's where we started to think, wouldn't it be cool if there was a big mother angel that kind of took over a scene.
The festival's tradition goes back nearly 2,000 years to the days of the Roman Empire, when the boar was the first dish served at their feasts. In Norman England, the boar was the sovereign of the forests, a menace to man and a symbol of evil. By the 12th century, the serving of a boar's head at Christmastide had become symbolic of the triumph of Christ over Satan and was associated with Epiphany, which celebrates the manifestation of Christ to the Magi. The Yule log, which is somehow miraculously a fresh log lighted by last year's embers, represents both the warmth of the family fireside and the continuance of human life and concern. It has always symbolized the rekindling of love and of Christ's love incarnate. Although the festival's origins are obscure, Oxford University's Queen's College has records of the procession from soon after the founding of the university in 1340 AD.
It is a Renaissance-style reenactment of the festival manor dinners and celebrations that were held in England back in the 1400s, in fact. The first records of a Boar's Head and Yule Log Festival were in England in the manor houses, and they were actually a Christian celebration of the season of Christmas, but they used many of the pagan images that were prevalent in England at the time. And it was really the culmination of these two cultures into the Christian realm.
The festival, with the addition of mince pie, plum pudding, and more, was later added to celebrations at the great English manor houses of the 17th century. And the custom, carried by ship to colonial America, was first presented in Connecticut. Holiday classic in its 49th year, Albano's Nutcracker is in its statewide tour. This year, the lavish production features outstanding costumes, new theatrical scenery, and international stars among its cast of more than 100 dancers.
It's the largest production between Boston and New York. And we've grown this over the years. So I'm very proud of the Mohegan Sun sponsorship, and at the same time very proud that we're performing in an arena, in a casino. We are the only ballet in the United States performing in casino.
And after the show is over, kids get to attend their own Sugar Plum Party and receive a special Albano Ballet Nutcracker to keep.
The Sugar Plum Party is an opportunity to give each child their own Albano's Nutcracker memento doll, and at the same time increase audience enthusiasm and development in Connecticut, and that's what we're trying to do, build audiences through this Christmas holiday classic, because as you know, Christmas is indeed the biggest retail holiday we have.
The Albano Ballet Company was founded in 1971 by Joseph Albano to expose Connecticut to the finest quality in dance instruction, and he repeatedly delivers. With the Nutcracker itself and with other productions throughout the year, at 72, he continues to perform the role of Drosselmeyer in the ballet.
Because they're performing with international dancers, and that's part of the exposure, to be able at 15, 14, 17 to dance alongside a 35-year-old, a 32-year-old, a 38-year-old, and say, my gosh, look what we're doing in Hartford with Albano Ballet.
Albano is assisted with Hartford's first resident ballerina, Miss Julia Frederick. Miss Frederick, who also continues to perform in the Nutcracker, forged a career nationally and internationally before joining Albano as associate director for the last 3 decades.
Of course, I could say a million wonderful things about Joseph. I've known him from the time that he trained me and made me an international ballerina. I have on my Paris shirt to prove it. Because I danced all over the globe. I was in the right place at the right time, but more important, I had the training to make that happen, and that was all due to him.
It is hard to imagine the tremendous amount of time and energy which goes into the creation of a production like this.
And then I'm in New York rehearsing the New York contingency part of our company from 1 o'clock until 8 o'clock. And then, yes, Tuesday they're in from 3:30 until 7 o'clock.
Well, we'll just say that we are definitely on the 7-day-a-week tip here. And most of the time, it really is 7 days a week. But then we performed in the summer, and before that, they were literally working every day. And it was good for them, though, because they didn't have the school, and so they went up, and everything.
Joseph Albano, known by friends as Mr. A or Mr. Ballet, doesn't rest, nor does he let anyone else rest for that matter, until the show is the absolute best it can be, year after year.
Now go. Yeah,